afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Lightning Speed Racing here. We are here at Sebring, Florida for the penultimate round of the Le Mans Ultimate Season 1 Championship. And it's a spicy one here today, or should I say a wet track here today. We are here in Central Florida. It is raining. It is the first wet race of the entire season. And honestly, this is going to be a really fun day here today. 60 minutes around here of the Sebring International Raceway. It's a very historic track, first opening in 1950 using some old Air Force runways. But just to kind of go ahead and talk about the track a little bit, it is 3.741 miles around, or 6.019 kilometers, 17 turns, and it is a mixture of asphalt and concrete. Concrete can get very slippery when wet, and this track has a ton of bumps. So there's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of bumps, a lot of spins. So it's going to be a really chaotic race here today in Sebring. The current lap record is a 1 minute 41.8, held by Kamui Kobayashi in the Toyota TSO 50 Hybrid back in 2019. We won't see any lap times like that around here today, just because it is wet weather. It's a wet race here today, so drivers are going to be likely running the wet tire compound. You may see a few brave souls try to brave it out on the mediums, but not very likely. And I don't think we'll see dry tires for any of the actual racing. So I mean, maybe. I mean, it looks better out there now. It was raining pretty heavily earlier, but maybe for qualifying in the race, it is going to get pretty heavy. You can see actually the blue strip on Mikhail Frokhov's tires, our current championship leader. And the blue strip means he is running the wet tire. So clearly the drivers are still feeling like the wet tire is going to be the optimal go-to for today. Okay, and actually, we actually will have our co-commentator today. We will have our main man Philip back in the commentary box. He was here first for the 2.4 hours of Le Mans, and he'll be back here again today, joining me on the desk for Sebring. And I'm not sure if he'll be around for Fuji. Maybe he'll tell us when he joins the VC. But we will go ahead and see. All right, yeah, so he'll be here in about 5 minutes' time. I mean, a lot of drivers are using the wet tire as of this current time, Perez. So, I mean, maybe, we're seeing quite a few drivers on the wet tires. We'll go to the championship rival of Mikhail Frokhov, Mark Santos, in the number 7 TGR Toyota. He'll be, he's running the wet tire at the moment. So, I mean, it is a wet track. It just may not be appearing on our end that it is a wet track. And there is Philip. How are you doing, good sir?
Hello everyone. I'm doing fine. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. We're here in my home state of Florida for 1 hour of Sebring, and it's going to be a pretty wet race here today.
Yeah, as we know from the news, it was gonna be a full wet race. Now we don't know yet the amount of rain and the strength of the rain, so it's gonna be an interesting race.
Indeed. I know it may not look like it's raining on your screens, and actually, speaking of screens, let me get this going for you.
Yep.
Alright, there we go. Should be up and running.
Ready?
Alright, so we just do this just so we make sure it won't change anything on the viewer's end, but on our end, it allows Phil to see exactly what I see, so we're not calling two separate races, because that can get pretty hectic. I've been in some commentary races where we've been commentating on split events, and it just gets pretty mumbo-jumbo, especially when it comes to endurance racing. But, yeah, it's going to be a fun race here today.
Well, it is Sebring, one of the most bumpiest tracks in the world. Also, of course, there is a few parts of the track where we have the close walls, so there might be a lot of incidents because you have the bumps, then you have the water, then you have the walls. So it's gonna be a very interesting race.
Indeed, yeah, and I mean concrete. The concrete in general doesn't provide as much traction as the asphalt does here at Sebring. And then you get it wet. I mean, concrete, when it's wet, is already slippery enough as is when you're just simply walking. If you're on like a college campus and there's a lot of concrete, walking from one building to another, it's pretty slippery there as well. Let alone going at, 200 miles an hour or 150 miles an hour like a lot of these drivers are going to be. But, yeah, I mean, the track itself isn't the only reason why it's going to be a really interesting race here today, because mathematically, Mikhail Frokov could win the championship here today. He just has to make sure, because we are down to the point now where it's going to be F1 scoring from here on out. So 25 points for the first place, and then points go down to the top 10. If Mikhail gets to the point where he gets 25 points or more ahead of Mark Santos or whoever's in P2, then Mikhail takes the championship right here, right now. So definitely a lot to play for here today. And only the drivers ranked P1 through P7 are still mathematically eligible for the championship.
Yeah, we think we're getting very close to there. For now, I have been talking to Mikhail, and he seems to be pretty confident. And yeah, I think there is only like for him 2 or 3 more drivers who can challenge him for the win today. But he seems overly confident today.
Indeed. Also, do you mind turning your mic up a little bit? We're
Yep.
hearing in chat that we can barely hear you. I can hear him fine,
Yep,
but
copy.
I know I got my mic pretty high up though. But yeah, I mean, Mikhail does seem pretty confident. I mean, he's been a rapid driver. He's been on the podium every single time we've raced this season. So I wonder if he can make it that a perfect season where he can go ahead and get the podium for every single race. I mean, it's only 2 races left. We have this race and then, or this race, not race, this race, and then 2 weeks from now we have the final race in Fuji.
Yep, true. Anyways, he is my favorite to win the championship. He's always been consistently in the top 5, so and he's very good at race starts, which are very important here. To have a gap in the lead is very, very important in this track, because you can easily get distracted by being behind someone because of this much bumps. The cars move a lot, so it's kind of disturbing to be behind someone.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a lot of good places to overtake, but some of those places that would be typically good for overtaking have a lot of bumps. So it's high risk, high reward, or, if you get that risk wrong, then your race is done before it really had a chance to get started. So it's gonna be a very, very it's gonna be a wild race. I think I know we had a pretty wild race in Monza, and then we also had a pretty wild one in Belgium. I think this race is probably going to be the most chaotic race of the bunch. I mean, you got a very bumpy track, like you mentioned earlier, and then rain. So
yeah, together it doesn't sound very very easy, nor like it's one of the most challenging tracks. And then also, if you make a mistake, it's either a wall or a gravel. So you choose.
yeah, you pick your poison in that regard. So right now we are currently in the practice. So we got about 6.5 minutes left of practice. And then we have qualifying, followed by the 1 hour of Sebring race. So looking ahead, Philip, how do you feel about Fuji in about, I think it's 2 weeks time, because I think we are actually taking a 1 week break for the real life 12 hours of Sebring.
Yeah. Fuji. Also very I would say easier track than Sebring. Fuji has a lot of ups and downs. So of course the troublesome chicane in Sector 3. And, you know, people usually complain about that part of the track because for the hypercars it's very slippery, but also a very interesting track to watch.
Indeed, yeah. Fuji is really fun. I mean, the start-finish straight is so long. I think it's the longest start-finish straight that we have on the calendar, and I think it's a really good place for overtaking. Honestly, I mean, I know this may or may not be a hot take, but I prefer that track as a high-speed track compared to Monza. That's just me personally. Doesn't have as many depth chicanes as Monza has, and I mean, we even saw at the beginning of Monza where there was just a little bit of, I say a little bit, that's kind of an understatement, but there was a pretty big incident in turn one, lap one, as there usually is at Monza. So Fuji is a bit better than that. It doesn't have as much of a brutal turn one, but yeah, we'll see how Fuji goes. And I mean, that's definitely when the championship is going to be decided. Now, there are a lot of rumors and kind of speculation about um, the entire league expanding to allow multi-class racing. How do you think that's going to fare?
Well, everybody likes a bit of multi-class racing, and some races, like most of them, will be decided how well you manage your race pace and also how you manage your traffic pace, because the GT cars are in the corners almost as fast as the hypercars, and they are usually very wide. And they're usually very wide, so they can be costing you around from 3 seconds to 10 seconds.
Indeed, as we see Nathan Perron have a little bit of a lockup there. I mean, this track is so slippery, and I mean, it's really easy to kind of lock up. I was doing some testing earlier myself, and yeah, grip here isn't easy to come by. But yes, I agree. Multi-class racing will be really exciting. How do you feel about all the new track layouts they added in the last update that happened? I think right around the Monza week that we had here. How do you feel about all the new circuits and stuff? I know Bahrain got almost every variation under the sun added to it. So, just how do you feel about it?
Well, I feel that's the right step to go, since it is, I would say, locked in terms of tracks because they follow the VEC, which we don't have a lot of tracks in VEC. And adding layouts will also implement more fun. And some of them are very nice, like let's say the Sebring we have right now, it's called the school. So you go into turn one, and then you just go all the way to the right. When you like finish turn one, you go to the right to shorten like half of the track, and you go straight on to sector 3. So I think it's gonna add fun to the online races, but I don't think they're gonna be used in like these scenarios when it's a league race.
Yeah, I mean, we probably won't see a lot of these shorter variations of tracks, but I mean, there are some variations I could see possibly using. Like maybe one time if we're feeling a bit adventurous, or we just don't feel like filling out Stewart's reports, we could do Monza without the turn one chicane. That can make things interesting.
Yep.
And also, I know it's kind of, and also maybe another one of the Rekka's hot takes, but I am a really big fan of the secure outer layer circuit. It is it's a fast track. It's honestly a lot of fun to drive. I've driven it here in Le Mans Ultimate, and I also drove it in Project Cars 3, which, I mean, granted, I know Project Cars 3 isn't the most realistic game of all time, but overall, it's a really fun track. I actually really wish that F1 would go back there at some point, maybe alternated with actual Bahrain. The Bahrain itself is a really good circuit. But there's also the endurance circuit of Bahrain, which is also quite a fun track. But who knows? Maybe we'll even see some other circuits that aren't exactly on the WC calendar. I know Qatar is likely going to come in pretty soon, so that'll be fun.
That's probably in May.
Yep.
For the next big update.
Yep. And then I think that's also when I think Aston Martin's coming in that turn too.
Oh, for as far as we know, we're getting Qatar. We're getting driver swaps and some additional stuff in May.
Now, that's going to be
as
pretty
as far
interesting.
as I know. So, yeah. The driver stops can also be
Ooh.
probably like there might be an idea where like rig races usually have sprints that will be like half an hour and then let's say 2 hours of or 3 hours of endurance the next day or later in the day. Like there is possibilities more, and then you can make teams with sprints and with driver stops. So of course you need to get as much people as you can because hypercar teams are usually out of 3 drivers.
Indeed, yeah, typically, and I think even like outside of like hypercar, I think even some GT teams have had 4 drivers in the past for some of the longer races. But yeah, I think driver
Yep.
stops it opens up a lot, not just for us here at LSR to kind of play around things, but other leagues that run Le Mans Ultimate. And I think that's one thing that this game is really doing right is that they're giving the league like indirectly they're giving the league more options to kind of play around with when it comes to like or track layouts, track variations. You
Yep.
can make so many more permutations of a calendar now with all the new layouts. And who knows? Maybe we'll get a track that used to be on like the WC calendar years ago, but hasn't made a return. Like maybe we'll see the Nürburgring GP make a comeback, or
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe some other tracks. I know there's other ones on my brain. I just can't think of them at the moment. Maybe we'll see
Yeah.
Suzuka. Who knows?
Basically, their game is based around VEC. Whatever VEC does, they can do. Another idea I had was maybe they can implement some of like old school in VEC cars. That's also an idea. Or whatever they can. I think they can also use the Le Mans cars, which were like in the 90s or 2000s.
Possibly. Or, they could just do the one thing that everybody absolutely wants, even though nobody has said it yet.
Yeah.
We just need the Garage 56 Camaro, and then we're golden. But anyways, we are
Yeah.
on to qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. 15 minutes of qualifying here around the Sebring International Raceway. And this will set our starting grid for the penultimate round of LSR's first ever Le Mans Ultimate Series. Can't believe we're already at the second to last round of this amazing championship.
It has been a very, very interesting championship indeed. Uh, Unfortunately, I couldn't watch every race, but whichever I was watching, everyone was doing a pretty good job of driving aggressively, very positive, just a little bit of bumps here and there, but like there was no dirty contracts, no like paybacks, no like not too negative. So I'm very happy with the racing we have.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, it's really, I mean, like you said, yes, there's a lot of really clean drivers here in this league. We've seen a few incidents, but I mean, that's just bound to happen. I mean, you're not going to have a perfectly clean racing series. It just doesn't happen. Even when you're driving some of the slowest cars imaginable. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they're like super slow by any regard, but compared to these type of cars, like, you know, you can never go through a MX5 Cup Series race without expecting at least a little bit of contact here and there. The contact is
Yeah.
just a part of racing, but I mean, the damage has been pretty minimal. And so far,
Oh,
still,
spin. We have a
oh, we
spin.
did have a spin. I mean, we've had quite a few spins here, and that's not the first spin we've seen today, and definitely not the last. Um, I mean, it's such a slippery track out there, so I mean, you expect
Yeah.
quite a few spins here today. But
Anyways, in short terms, like what I saw, it is very very positive. Usually people have anger issues, and then whenever somebody makes an aggressive move, they try to do it again and like against them, and then they usually crash. So for now, this league is very very um, driving in a very clean way. We saw a lot of door-to-door battles, and the community is overall positive in this league.
oh yeah, indeed, and I mean, there's been a few teething issues. I mean, like every new league will have. I mean, teething issues are inevitable. I know there's some confusion with the initial scoring system that was implemented, and I mean, I know there's just generally some teething issues, but so far, I think overall it's been a pretty solid league. We've had some pretty decent turnouts too. I think today's race, which we have 14 cars on the grid, I think that's the lowest we've had. But still, I mean, there's some leagues
Yep.
where even in like the top category of like F1, where sometimes you can only get like 6 or 7 drivers. So I mean, so far we've had some really solid turnouts here. I mean, Le Mans, we had like dang near 30 drivers competing. So I mean, there's definitely interest, and I'm curious to see how this grid will expand during the next season. Anyways,
Yeah. Anyways, for the numbers, I was just thinking about it. This league that does have a very good average number of people joining, and I can see the names, which I remember the names of the drivers, and that's good when you know the drivers a bit, when you watch them for a few races, and they're constantly coming to this race. Ooh, somebody hit the wall.
yeah, that's
And
Johnny Luna in the number 12 Hertz Jota Porsche. And I mean, we haven't actually talked a lot about the times, but I mean, so far, Mark Santos has cleared the field by a massive 2 seconds. So that Toyota is really loving the rain here today. And anyways, back to what you were saying.
anyways, yeah, we do have a very good average number of people joining the races. They usually even join practice in a good number. So they are really committed to this game and the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in general, Le Mans Ultimate is going to grow as it just kind of gets more well known. I mean, I know if we were on iRacing, I'm sure we'd probably have a pretty stacked roster, but we have a lot more cars here on offer than iRacing does here at the moment. I promise this won't dive into a spiel why this game is better, but still, I think overall for a new league on a somewhat new game in terms of like the sim racing market, yeah, I agree. It's a pretty solid turnout. So, we are at 9.5 minutes left on the session right now. We have 3 drivers who have yet to spend the time, being Gabriel Mara, a new driver in the number 311 Wheeling Cadillac. So he's going to go and try to make a lap. And then we have Antonio Mendoza, made his debut last week in the number 93 Peugeot. And then we have Formula Jonah, who is currently in the number 6 Porsche Penske machine. So we'll actually Gabriel just went ahead and set the fastest lap, he set a lap. Still English is not my strong suit today. 6 seconds off the pace compared to Mark Santos, but Bonalumi actually in Lamborghini is now only a second off.
Oh.
Yeah, and a few cars going off there.
The conditions are getting worse.
Yeah, it does look like that. I mean, that's typical for Florida. I mean, as someone who lives in Florida, this is lore accurate. The rain shows up, gets worse, but the only slightly unrealistic thing about this, coming from a Floridian, is that it hasn't randomly become perfectly sunshiny yet. So, I guess
Yeah.
I mean,
anyways, I'm noticing a lot of people having problems with braking. They seem to be losing a lot of time on the braking, so this might be the pole position rep from Santos.
It is possible. I mean, Mark Santos is P2 currently in the championship. He made the jump after last week in Monza when he got that race win. Very good result from the Toyota, the first win for Toyota. I mean, in 5 rounds, we've had 3 different manufacturers take victory. We had Ferrari and Bahrain, and then we had BMW, and then we had Toyota. So, I mean, three manufacturer wins in 5 races is a pretty decent, but 4 races actually. BMW is the only one that had 2 wins, with a win in both Belgium and Le Mans. But so far, it's been a pretty balanced. I mean, it's not like one manufacturer's just shot off into the distance. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some cars that will do better than others due to the game following the IRL formula for the hypercars. I mean, the Glickenhaus car is probably really going to struggle here because it is I think out of all these vehicles here, it is the only rear-wheel drive vehicle, and we've seen Nico Perez just have a little bit of understeer there, and he's off into the grass, trying to create a rally track for Sebring, which, I mean, I think rallycross would actually be pretty dope. But regardless, you don't want to do that when you're trying to qualify here at Sebring. He is currently 10 seconds off. So far, our top three is Mark Santos, Michelle Bonalumi, and Mikhail Frokov. So now I will pose a question to you. Is there a specific car you want to go on board with for a lap?
I want to go in the onboard with the Peugeot.
All right.
Because it, as far as I know, it should be the best car on this specific track and these conditions together.
Actually,
and I think he was way faster in the practice session.
All right. Actually, I didn't know that we actually did lose one of the Peugeots. Now that you mention it, we did have a disconnect. Yeah. And, oh, that's a massive crash there.
Oh, that's why.
From Antonio Mendoza. Yeah. That's unfortunate. And we did actually have a disconnect from the other Peugeot of Daniel Krebs. Daniel Krebs did get a podium last time out. Yeah. For the Peugeot squad, and he is so close.
Very fast driver. Yeah, he's a very fast driver that now just had a lot of pace in practice. As I was watching him drive, he seemed to be probably even for P2 here, but now I don't see him. As you said, it's a crash in the game. But the Peugeot is a very downforce-driven car, and with amazing traction, which is very much needed with the rain. So I was cheering for that for him and Peugeot team, because we're usually seeing Toyota, BMW, and sometimes Cadillacs up top. So yeah, I'm lucky for him.
I mean, this season so far has been mostly dominated by Toyota and BMW. They've usually been the front runners. Ferrari was a Ferrari. I mean, they had a really excellent season starting off. I mean, they won in Bahrain, so that was really good for them. But ever since then, they've either had no representation, or the representation they did have, it just wasn't super great. The driver who actually won in the Ferrari actually did switch to BMW. That was Rovin Mashid. He's got 2 wins. I think he's the only driver so far, unless we count Mikhail winning the prologue. He's the only driver so far to have 2 wins, and he did that in 2 different cars. He did it in a BMW for Le Mans, and then he did it in a Ferrari for Bahrain. So that's another fast driver, but he just hasn't. He's currently P3 in the championship, but he did miss quite a few rounds, including this round here today.
Yeah, as I remember when I was joining you in the commentary box, we saw like a lot of the same brands in the top 3, and now this is the day where we will see it mixed because of the conditions we have today. So I think like even the Cadillacs might be there up there with the pace. Porsches might be struggling a bit for some reason. So there will be a 5-car battle as I'm seeing it on the race. Now the qualifying is all very difficult. People are trying to find the limit, but in the race there is such a long race, and mistakes will be made. So in terms of race pace, we might be looking at a very interesting race.
Yeah, strategy is really going to play a factor in it too. Like how long can these wet tires go is going to be the big question. But also we know this track is going to. You go ahead.
Just give information because I don't want it to go out of my head. They can last pretty good usually in real life in terms of weather conditions, and also as I'm seeing it, it will be a 0-stop race with a lot of fuel saving, or a 1-stop, so a longer stint with a sprint stint on later on in the times. Personally, I would go for the 0-stop with, I think it's gonna be like 3 or 4 laps of fuel saving.
I mean, it's very true. I mean, these tires are not made out of paper mache like the Formula 1 wet tires. Those not so indestructible Pirellis. The Michelin tires are pretty well known for their endurance. Although granted, they're specifically an endurance racing tire, so that does make a good amount of sense. But yeah, I'm thinking probably a. I'm thinking. I agree with you, honestly. Now that you put it out there, a zero stop would be ideal, and I think there's probably going to be a good chunk of the drivers actually doing that. But there may be a few of the other riskier drivers, or maybe drivers who know that they're pretty far down the order, winning's out of the hands. You know, they may just try to go full send and just push it to the absolute limit here today. But we are seeing these qualifying times trickle down quite a bit. Bonalumi is now only 3.5 tenths off of Mark Santos. And I mean, this track is just drying up really quickly. So I think in general, like once these drivers find the dry line, these times are really going to fall. And actually, this will be the best qualifying position for Lamborghini of all season, I think.
Yep.
They had some really good possibilities. They had a good race out in Monza, double points. I mean, actually, I think they effectively doubled or tripled their points tally collectively as Lamborghini. Alex Alfonso isn't here for this race. We only have Michele Bonalumi. But Bonalumi really showed the pace at Monza, so I have a lot of faith in this driver that he can go ahead and go forward and do some absolute magic in that Lamborghini. Obviously, it'd be foolish to count out Santos or Mikhail Frokov. I mean, those have probably been the two most consistent drivers in the entirety of the field, and there's a reason why they're 1 and 2 in the championship right now. We'll stick on board with Mikhail Frokov here. We're going to go ahead and just take a look at the qualifying information for this driver. He is currently third at the moment. Got a best lap time of a 2:04. Or no, sorry, 2:04 is the time to beat. So we'll see how he goes through Sector 1. We'll see if it is a purple or not. I mean, he's going for it. I mean, we know Mikhail is very, very quick, but there's also a lot of puddles on that track. So there is a yellow flag. Probably just. Oh, yep, it's a Joda Porsche going
Joda,
deep.
yeah, Joda.
It was a Joda Porsche going deep.
Mikhail, I was trying to needs to send it, and probably there might be still that the Toyota has just much more downforce than the Peugeot, the BMW. And yeah, I am actually surprised a bit Mikhail's pace. He seems to be struggling now with these conditions.
Yeah, he's currently a second off of Santos. Actually improves his time quite a bit. Now he's 2:03.8. Is the time to beat. Right now, we'll see if Frokov can do it or not. The checkered flag is out. Qualifying is done. This is the last lap that our championship leader could put in. Remember, he's got to finish 25 points ahead of P2. So realistically, he would need Santos to DNF this race, and he would need to win to push the championship here. But that might not be the case. We might not see that today, and this goes down to Fuji. It is a purple sector 2 though. For the Danish driver.
The car twitching a bit.
Yeah, the BMW is getting a little twitchy, and I'll let you take away the remainder of the lap.
That seems to be it.
Yep, an improved time, but not position. So I believe, unless we have anyone else currently active. Oh, yep, we do. Here we go. We have Nathan Perron. Improving his time, but not necessarily improving his position. Currently P6. He's only got one more sector left, and I'll let you take it away. Actually, I think this is the last corner.
This is the last. Yeah.
I was gonna let you take it away, but let's see where it goes. Nope, it's not gonna be it. It's gonna be improved position, but not enough for pole. All right, so your qualifying order is Mark Santos takes pole position in the number 7 Toyota, followed by Michele Bonalumi, Mikhail Frokov, Joseph German, Nathan Perron, Jerome Lenorand, Antoine Poncet, Johnny Luna, Gabriel Mara, Nico Perez, and then that rounds out our top 10. And then we have Antonio Mendoza, Sam O'Curdy, a new driver here, and Formula Jonah. So that is our grid for today's race. And yeah, so are you expecting turn 1 chaos here, Philip?
Oh, obviously, yes. It's a very difficult left-hander. It is a medium speed corner now in the wet. I don't know if the rules of this race, do we have the tire warmers or not? No, that's the question.
I think tire warmers are allowed. I think ever since they were included in the last update or the update before, I think the tire warmers have been legal for the series, and I'm pretty sure they will be going into next season as well. So I mean, the tire warmers are
Next
there.
season. Okay.
So I think the tire warmers are there. They'll be in place probably for this season and next. Probably every season after that, I would imagine. We haven't obviously thought, 5 or 6 seasons ahead yet at this point. But anyways, we are about to go lights out. And we're about to begin our penultimate race here in Sebring. And this is going to be a fantastic race here today. A lot of these drivers are probably going to run the full wet tires for the duration of the race, whether it's one or either they're going to run one set or 2 sets. We'll just have to go out to find out. As we're just waiting for green.
Yeah, as I said, the turn 1 will be extremely difficult. It is a medium speed corner. If just one car misses it, he can send 2 to 3 other cars just straight to the wall and out of the race. They just need to be cautious about their tire temperatures because the hypercars need at least 1 or 2 laps, maybe even 3 laps on the wets to fully get into the operating temperature. And then depends if the drivers can actually keep the temperature up to the whole race. Even if you go below, it's gonna be very cold, and of course problems.
Indeed. So we're about to go green here in Sebring. Mark Santos will lead the drivers to the grid. We're just waiting now for him to take this field away. They're coming up to the start-finish straight, and it's lights out, and away we go. It is an excellent start there for Mark Santos, and not such a great start for Michele Bonalumi, as it looks like we may see Prokop going to go ahead and take it, but we're just going to watch these drivers go through. Turn 1 was navigated successfully, and there's so much spray. We see a few cars already going off track there. It looks like Michele Bonalumi got into the grass a little bit there, and I mean, so far, we managed to survive lap 1 without any major incident, Philip.
Yep, very clean start from everyone, and a very good start from Michael Foucault. Usually the BMW needs a very long time to get the tires heated, but he seems to get the setup right today, and I'm glad for him.
Indeed, yeah, I mean, we know, like you mentioned earlier, that Michael is really strong on race starts, but it looks like, oh, sorry, no, this was my timing table taking a few seconds to update. But yeah, Bonalumi has lost the place. I think Joseph German has actually moved up quite a bit. So good on the Toyota. We actually have a 3 Toyota grid here today. We have, I think, 2 of the 2023 spec Toyotas and then 1 2024 spec Toyota. And that 2024 spec is in the lead. And oh, these drivers are getting really close right now. We'll go on board now with the BMW. See if he can make up that distance.
I want to tell to the viewers is that in game, when you actually drive these cars in the rain, it's like 10 times worse in visibility than we are seeing right now.
Especially with that spray, and it looks like Santos actually went a bit wide. Santos is in the grass. This is gonna open up the door for Miguel Prokop. He's gonna go ahead and extend it around. The mistake from Mark Santos opened the door for Mikel to go ahead and jump up into the lead of this race. He has moved up 2 positions in the opening lap here of Sebring. Now, maybe, I know that was a massive mistake there from Santos in a car that's typically better in the wet conditions than the BMW is, but I wonder if Prokop is going for that more aggressive strategy like you were talking about earlier. Is he going for the...
It seems like he has everything perfectly set up for this race.
Close?
Very close. Yeah, he seems to be fired up from lap 1, but of course I still think that Toyota is the much faster car, and Santos is a very fast driver, so he will be very close to him.
Oh, actually, we must have missed it, unfortunately, but something did happen to Michele Bonalumi, all the way down now in P10. Started in P2, but now...
There was a yellow flag.
So maybe a spin there from the Italian. Oh, and
But
we're even seeing.
I have positive visions for him. He was very fast, and Lamborghini is a very aggressive car, so he might have maybe just got a bit nervous on the throttle and spin the car.
I mean, it's so slippery on this track, like we've said a dozen times at this point. So I mean, it's not super surprising. And I mean, we knew we were gonna see spins here in this race. So we're actually gonna go ahead and now switch to the next car ahead. See if there's any other really good gaps. And Perron is actually getting really close to Nico Perez. They're like, look at that! Oh, that's the car going. That's the car going deep. Oh, that's that's Samo Curdy. Samo Curdy in the Porsche Penske Le Mans edition just went straight on into the wall. That's definitely probably a case of the.
Yeah, it seemed like he lost control of the car.
Yeah, that car is hobbling. So maybe I don't know.
Now he can go probably box now very early on to get rid of this traffic and the problems of visibility. That's the only thing he can do now.
So the Porsche Penske squad isn't having the greatest of races here, as we see Formula Junior already making a pit stop, and he's coming back out into traffic. It hasn't been the greatest of seasons for the content creator. I mean, it just seems like he just had a run of bad luck here. I mean, he's still been here for almost every single round. Oh, he's into the wall.
Oh.
The Porsche Penske is just on the struggle bus right now. That just seems to be a thing with all the Porsches. I mean, we saw, I think Johnny Luna is the best of any of these Porsches. Actually, correction, it's Jerome. Jerome is currently in P4, but I mean, the Porsches have just struggled here today at Sebring.
Yeah, it seems like the tires are not working for the Porsches, and now what happened to Jonah is probably he was pushing that last corner out of the box as you exit. He was pushing way too much on the exit, and the car just didn't want to turn because the tires are extremely cold after the pit stops.
Indeed, and I mean, the best way to kind of warm up these tires is to drive them on the drier parts of the track, which I mean, those are so few and far between here on this track, especially because it's just downpouring with Floridian rain here at the moment. And this field has kind of spread out a bit. I mean, we can go back to the battle, and actually, you were saying you had a lot of high praise for Michel Bonalomi's pace. Michel's back up into P7 after that spill that saw him drop down to P11. So, I mean, he's in the points, firmly in the points, so is Nico Perez. In the boutique manufacturer. The boutique manufacturer also had a really solid run here in this series. I think they've got points in most races so far, at least one of the boutique manufacturers has. The only boutique manufacturer that has not scored points championship is Vanwall, and we haven't seen them since Belgium, I believe. So
Belgium. Yep.
Unfortunate there for the Austrian squad. But I mean, so far these other boutique manufacturers have done really well here today. Or I mean, in this entire series.
Nico Perez, what happened now? He's now outside of top 10. He seems to be struggling with the car a lot. He was P7, by the way. He had a really good start. It just might be the Glickenhaus being too aggressive, like very light for the rain.
And also, it's worth noting that the Glickenhaus is rear-wheel drive compared to most of its other competitors who are all-wheel drive. So I mean, rear-wheel drive is just going to be inferior in the rain compared to the others. And actually, hang on a second, I'm doing an closer inspection of that car. Okay, it might just be my eyes playing tricks on me, but it did look like there for a while that he was actually on slick. Yeah, I mean, those. Okay, it is the wet tires, but man, it looked like slicks from one angle because it just looked like it was the white wall tires.
They do, yeah, they do.
But he is on the wet tires, but also, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the torque off the rip because it's not a hybrid and it's rear wheel drive, so he doesn't have the grip on corner exit that a lot of these other cars do. So he's gonna obviously have a bit more struggles here in the rain than the other cars would.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about the gaps, there might be some drivers who just decided to stay in this position where they are, because as I said, the spray is so bad in this game, like you don't see when you are like even a half a second behind. And as you can see, Santos is still behind Fukov, so probably just following him around waiting for the mistakes. And we can also see the 3 Toyotas in top 5, so they have warmed up the engines, their tires, and they are ready to push now.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, actually, another thing too is that although not by a massive margin considering the amount of rain here in Sebring at the moment, um, Santos might be just on a bit of a drier line because BMW is kicking up most of the water on track. I mean, there's still gonna be water on track, so it's not like Mikel is parting the Red Sea or anything. But it's a spin!
Oh no!
Santos spun! Oh, he must have got a little bit too much onto the puddles there. And Mark Santos had a big spin there on corner exit. And now Mikel really could just saunter off in the race distance.
Yeah, as I said, he was probably very close to Fukov and he didn't see where he was going. He was very, very close, and especially in that difficult, I think this is one of the most difficult turns in the whole game, is that the last one of the Sebring.
Yeah, we're just going to go on the rear bumper cam of Mikhail Frokov here, and man, oh man, it is very wet right now. I mean, you could just see the spray that's being kicked up behind that BMW, and I mean, it is just tense. So yeah, especially if you're driving like within just inches of that rear wing, yeah, you're not seeing Jack Diddley on this track.
Exactly, that's what probably happened to Santos, just pushing too much, not seeing where the apex is, just watching for the water in his windscreen. But now this is a very good position for Fukov because he might be doing the zero stop, which means he needs to do a lot of fuel saving, and now he has a second gap and he can do it comfortably.
We actually have a DNF. Our first DNF is one of the Toyotas. Joseph German is out of this race. Oh, we actually have 3 DNFs at the moment. Antonio Mendoza, Joseph German, and Formula Jonah are all out of this race in the early stages of the race. We just passed 10 minutes of this track. And so now, as long as you finish the race, you're going to get points. So that is the stage we are at now because for those of you who may be new, first of all, welcome. We hope you enjoy your stay here. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe because we have F1 coming up shortly after this. But for the 60-minute races we have here, it is Formula 1 scoring. So first place gets 25, second place gets 18, third gets 15, so on and so forth, with P10 getting 1 point. And then pretty much 11th and below, you're not getting points. Or if you DNF, no points for you. But yeah, right now, if you finish, you get points. And if Mark Santos has a DNF, then Mikel could win the entire championship here and now. So it's at the point where he doesn't even have to race at Fuji to, be champion. He can just win it here. I mean, we'll still have Fuji regardless, but Mikel doesn't even have to be at Fuji if he doesn't want to be there if he can win this race and if Santos just DNFs here.
And we can see now Santos is really, really struggling with the car. Probably from the damage from the rear wing, and he just lost around a second for this mistake. And also, one more thing, we have Bonalumi in P4 right now.
Yeah, Bonalumi is on a massive recovery drive. It might even be a podium there with how much Santos is struggling there in that Toyota. I mean, Bonalumi is having some really strong pace there in that Lamborghini. It is, I mean, I know typically in the WEC, Lamborghini hasn't had the greatest of track record, but they've had a pretty solid one here in Lightning Speed Racing. So it's been really awesome to see that some of these like underdog manufacturers, and I mean, Michelle just has so much confidence in that car. I mean, even just full sending it through puddles and like, nah, I'll win. And he just masters it. It's like he's a rally driver. It's like another very famous Michelle that has done really good in endurance racing. And I'm probably going to put... Oh, we have another DNF, you say?
Luna from Porsche, yeah.
Oh, yep. That's another DNF. Sure enough. So Johnny Luna...
Conditions are very, very bad, as I can see. But that's probably why Bonalumi is P4, because as I'm seeing the driving style of him, he seems to be pretty smooth with the driving, and he doesn't have much slips, so probably him being this confident and smooth with the driving style, that's why he probably is P4.
Indeed. I mean, I know Bonalumi has had a torrid start at the beginning of the season. No points, several DNFs in the early stages of the season. But starting from Monza and now today, we're seeing the real pace that Michelle has. And Michelle's pace is really, really solid. So if he comes back for next season, regardless of what class he is in, whether he's in the hypercar, LMP2, GTE/GT3, or whatever classes we end up running, I think Michelle is going to be a really solid competitor throughout just the entire series. Probably a really solid midfield contender, looking pretty likely to even get a podium here if one of these top three has a slip up of any kind. And that's just been kind of Michelle's race here today. It's just that he's been capitalizing on the mistakes of a lot of the other drivers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, also having a P2 start, and also, like you said, I mean, on board now with the Lamborghini. I mean, there's just like so much confidence in this Lamborghini. And I mean, yeah, look at that, just masterful, no slip, not a lot of correction there, coming out of that corner.
Yeah, very, very high TC setting for him, and he seems to be very smooth with the wheel, which can also help him with the tire wear. And he just now got 1 second from P3, and he seems to be driving very, very good. It's also very good for the tires, as I said, which is very important since if you lose grip on a bumpy track which is wet like this, it's gonna be huge problems later on. And now I'm also seeing one of the winners being Perez in the Glickenhaus. Now if he's sure to score points, which Glickenhaus shouldn't be even close to P10.
I mean, Glickenhaus has had some really strong performances throughout the season. I mean, Lucas Nielsen had some really good performances. Almost got a podium, actually, out of Monza in the Glickenhaus. So this Glickenhaus team has been a dark horse, really. Easily the most surprising manufacturer that we've had in LSR throughout the season. Because, I mean, we knew the boutique manufacturers were going to struggle a bit. We knew Isota was going to have issues. Banwall is abysmal on straights. And then we also have the Glickenhaus currently on track being rear-wheel drive and no hybrid system. But, I mean, Glickenhaus has done exceptionally well in the hands of both Nico Perez and Lucas Nielsen, who unfortunately was unable to race today. Hopefully we will see him in Fuji. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really good season in general for Glickenhaus.
Yep, they did an amazing job with what they've got, and now this B9 is actually very good because there is no way they should be even close to top 10, since this is the worst track for them in terms of feeling good and being fast with what they've got. What we saw, like they were P5, P6, P7s, but that was like on easier track and of course on the dries. And as you said, rear-wheel drive from the Glickenhaus, which is very, very snappy and aggressive in the rain, which is not comfortable.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, we always say about Glickenhaus that, like, oh, Glickenhaus, they're gonna struggle, and it seems like, obviously aside from the 100 octane fuel that they run in the car, they're fueled by the doubt of everybody else. Like, there's no way they could score points, and then they just basically say, oh yeah, watch me. And then boom, we get performances like we've had in Monza, in Belgium, and just in a lot of other races here throughout the entirety of the season. I mean, Glickenhaus has just done exceptionally well. Who else has done exceptionally well is Bonalumi, who's already caught up to the Porsche of Jerome Lenorand. Now, Lenorand made his debut last race and overall had a really solid performance there. So, I mean, we know that this Porsche can be quick. He's the quickest of the Porsches right now and one of two surviving Porsches. But so far, the kind of brand we haven't really talked a lot about in the duration of this race is the Cadillacs. I mean, the Cadillacs have had a quiet race and an incident-free race, which you cannot say the same about them when they were racing in Monza. Nathan Perrault started on pole position, but unfortunately got caught up into some turn one shenanigans and just fell way down the order.
Yeah, I think they are in a place where they should be in terms of how other cars behave. For them, I would say even P4, P5 should be the goal, like the maximum points they can go, because the Toyota and BMW seem to be the strongest car here, and we lost one Toyota. So Poncent is P5. If they can catch it, that's gonna be good. Like both of them can, but the Cadillacs should aim for P4 and P5.
Indeed, yeah. We'll see how the Cadillacs get along, and I mean, I think so far it's just a race of management. We've already seen 4 DNFs here. I mean, 4 DNFs in the DNS. Because we did have Daniel Krebs who got disconnected before qualifying kicked off. So we had 1 DNS or did not start, and then 4 DNFs. So we are down to 9 drivers, and I think some drivers have probably heard like, oh yeah, one of our teammates has crashed, one of our teammates is out of the race. Like, I'm sure Antoine might have heard that from at least maybe somebody else in this Toyota camp. That German, now German has been a really strong driver too, in terms of the race and the standings. And I think I'll check the standings real quick. Yeah, German was currently in P6. So he was one of the last drivers eligible to still win the championship. Although that chance has gone straight out of the window now with the DNF. So he is no longer eligible to win the championship. Actually, a lot of these other drivers. So now I think it's down to really 4 drivers that could still win this. Being Antoine, Perron, Santos, and Prokop are still the only drivers viable for the championship, because the other ones who are within that mathematical range are not in this race.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think Miguel has now the biggest chance. Now he's already P1, but with a decent gap, also doing a very consistent job as I'm looking at the delta times. And now we do have Bonalumi in P3, which now it's a very, very interesting thing to watch Bonalumi if he can actually catch Santos. That's the question now.
Indeed, yeah. He managed to catch up to Jerome and past Jerome. Jerome is still going to turn out to give up that position without a fight as we go on board now with the Hertz go to Porsche of Jerome Lenorand as he tries to chase back that podium position from Michele Bonalumi. And I mean, it's been a recovery drive for that Lamborghini. But we'll see if he can catch up to Santos, because that would be a really good position. Bonalumi isn't eligible for the championship at this stage just because mathematically it's not possible. But that's not going to stop him from pushing full on and trying to get that podium. The first podium for Lamborghini in the entirety of the series. So very good there for the Lamborghini.
As this is his first race, he needs to show us what he can do. And he seems to be really damn fast, and now we just need to watch the gaps. He still, as we are watching him on board, he still doesn't look like struggling at all. Like, he seems to be in control of the car, and that's what's the most important, is to being consistent on wet races.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a lot of times where we haven't seen the full pace of this driver, and maybe this driver might just be a wet weather merchant. There's some drivers that are really good for the wets, and Jerome has gone. It looked like he went pretty wide there on the exit of the corner, letting Bonalumi go way off into the distance. I'm not seeing any other close gaps here at the moment, so we'll just go ahead and we'll stay on board with the Lamborghini for a bit. And or is there a specific car you want to be on board with?
I want to watch Perron and P7.
All right.
To see how is he driving this Cadillac. He seems to be a bit closer to his teammates at P6, but they have around the same pace. So let's see on board if he's having any problems with the steering wheel, with the slipping, or probably locking up.
Indeed, yeah, and I mean, like you said, the Cadillacs, they're not the quickest car around this track, but you're expecting them to be probably around P4, P5, maybe P5 and P6. You've currently got one of those drivers sitting at P6 with Gabriel Mara. And I mean, Perron, he is currently P4 in the championship with 65 points. I mean, he had a really, really good shot of he's had a few chances where he could have won races, but unfortunately, due to just incidents that happened on track, it just knocked him out of the running. I mean, pole in Monza was a really good shot because we saw in Monza that, I mean, the only time a real pass for the lead was made, aside from the turn one incident, was in the pits between Mikel and Santos. So in reality, I mean, he could have won that race if he didn't get involved in that turn one incident, but unfortunately, that's not how history sees things. So, I mean, Perron's got pace, and it looks like he's also not really struggling a lot. Maybe a little more snappy than Bonalumi is, but so far not a bad showing here from the Cadillac. He's still
it
almost
doesn't look that
7
bad.
seconds away
It
from his
looks
teammate.
also, yeah, it looks under control. It looks very much on the limit of what the car can do. But I saw him drifting a little bit into the turns, which is not gonna help his tire wear at all. And yes, we are watching. Bonalumi is not catching Santos. He's on 10 seconds. But he did gap Lenerant in the Porsche, so this is now very crucial part where we will almost soon see the strategies. Maybe somebody will pit mid the race to go on a shorter sprint with maybe even fresher tires.
That is true. I would pull the tire statistics usually around this time period, but I mean, we know everybody is going to be on that wet tire, and there's no intermediate tire for the World Endurance Championship, so you pretty much got wet or slick. Obviously, if you run slicks here, you're probably going to end up in the wall because even some of the drivers who were on that wet tire compound did something that's good in real life, but not really good on this track, and they touched grass and ended up in a wall for it. So, I mean, we even saw that from this driver here earlier on with Mark Santos. We saw that just got a little too hot in one of these corners. I mean, I know Florida is a hot state, probably one of the hottest states in the entirety of the nation of the United States. It's also very humid and also very stormy, as we like to kind of poke fun at. So, I mean, it's been a race for sure with Mark Santos. I mean, I know he's probably kicking himself for that slide earlier on in the race.
Yeah, but he seems to be getting closer to Furkov. He's now on 6.6. It's either him pushing a lot now, finding the pace, or Furkov just doing a massive lift and coast.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be the two strategies that you talked about earlier, right? So, I mean, you got the one stop, which Mark Santos might be attempting, do a quicker sprint level of fueling and tire setup, as you also talked about earlier, or you could just go for the passive Euro stop, which is what our race leader appears to be doing here at the moment. He appears to possibly just like lifting and coasting quite a bit. I think even just going into that straight, you could have heard a little bit of that lift and coast from the BMW. So not racing full send. I mean, he could win the championship here if Santos DNFs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He does seem to be lifting, coasting just a little bit. Probably maybe calculated from him. But he's in a very comfortable position. He doesn't need to push this much if he's going for that zero strategy. The cars I think should pit is probably Perez, just to make sure his car is more easier to drive. But he has nothing to lose, and also maybe even Perron, because I saw him drift a lot and had some oversteer moments that could have also go on the way of tire wear.
Oh, there's a slide there. Speaking of drifting, the Cadillac of Nathan Perron just goes sliding there.
Exactly.
He just doesn't have that kind of grip here.
Yeah, exactly. In this game, if you do mistakes and lockups and drifts and oversteer everything, it will affect your tires very much. So I would, on his spot, I would bid for new tires because they're probably dead by now and they're gonna get even worse.
Yeah, he's probably got a bald spot or two on those tires. Some flat spots for sure on those wet weather tires. So he probably will pit in sooner rather than later. Let's actually do a energy check to see where everybody is when it comes to fuel. We'll go ahead and pull those statistics up. I mean, so far, I mean, in terms of fuel, most drivers could probably maybe make it. Did have to do some fuel saving though, I will say.
Yeah, exactly. That we are just halfway through the race, so if they should be above 50 right now for a zero stop. If we are talking about little, just tiny bits of lift and coasting, for now Santos is looking very comfortable with 50%, so 4% over, which should be around more than a half a lap, and also Perez with the Glickenhaus 56%.
Yeah, we'll actually go. We'll stay on board with Nathan Perron for the entirety of this lap. He was at currently 49%. We'll see how much percent goes through a lap. So the viewers at home can go ahead and just gonna get a grasp on possibly how many laps of fuel left. Oh, it's a lockup there from the Cadillac. You could see those front tires just stopping and just not able to get that Cadillac rotating now. I mean, that's really gonna put a hamper on his race efforts here. He's already
As I said, he needs to pit. He needs to pit. These tires, like, he's gonna get even worse by the time he's doing this. He maybe will only lose probably one position. So it's even better to finish P8 than not finish, because this is looking like he might go in a wall soon.
Yeah, I mean, that Cadillac is definitely on the struggle bus, as we mentioned before. I mean, he's had quite a few big slides here. Yeah, those tires are probably resemble a Rubik's Cube around this time period, just from how much sliding he's done on those wet weather tires. We are getting very, very close now to the final 30 minutes of the race. We're about at the halfway mark here in Sebring as of right now. We are officially at the 30-minute mark of this race. I know on your screen we do only show 9 drivers just due to the limitations of our current UI, but there's only 9 drivers in this race remaining. So you're seeing every driver that's still in this race so far. Your top 9, as you can see on screen, are Mikhail Frokov, Mark Santos, Michelle Bonalumi, Jerome Lenorand, Antoine Ponset, Gabriel Mara, Nathan Perron, Sam O'Curdy, and Nico Perez are our final 9 drivers remaining. We started with 14. We lost one early on in the qualifying session, possibly due to a disconnect. That was the Peugeot Daniel Krebs. And then the retirees of this race, we have Formula Jonah in the number 6 Penske Porsche, Antonio Mendoza in the number 93 Peugeot, Joseph German in the 2023 number 8 Toyota, Johnny Luna in the Hertz Toyota Porsche number 12. Those are our 4 on-track retirements, and then we are down to 9 drivers left.
Yeah, as we thought, you know, the difficult conditions, walls, gravel, and other cars, of course, in the bumps. This number was, oh, another DNF.
Oh, we do, and it's
That's
Curdy.
the Porsche of Curdy.
Yeah, so Sam O'Curdy is out of this race, and now there are 8. There are 8 drivers remaining in this race now. 1 Porsche remains, and that is the Porsche of Jerome Lenorad, the Hertz Toyota number 38. He is still remaining. He was in the podium spot earlier, but he looked like very snappy there over those bumps. He did lose another position to the Toyota of Antoine Ponset, but I mean, we kind of already figured coming into this that the Porsche was going to struggle a bit here on this track. The 963 trying to chase down that Toyota ahead of him. But so far, I mean, it's been a very interesting race here. Lots of sliding going on, but then again, that is to be expected whenever we see wet weather conditions like that. And also, we're down to 8 drivers on track.
Yeah, this is not the only fight we do have at this time of the race. And we haven't seen much of Ponset, what he was doing, and the only way he was fighting with Bonalumi. But let's see if he can defend against Lennard, who seems to be getting some pace now, and he seems to be very much faster than Ponsen.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, the Toyotas have seemingly struggled for grip here, even though we were coming into this race with the mindset that they would be some of the grippier cars and some of the faster cars when it comes to this this type of weather condition. So it's gonna be a real fight here. We know Jerome made his debut last week in Monza, and so far he's had a pretty good showing. Had some pretty decent results there for Porsche. Unfortunately, just due to the fact he started super late, he is not eligible for the championship. But yeah, taking a look right now and actually trying to look for him on the championship standings, he does have a single point from Monza. So he is currently in P21,
Yeah.
tied with Nemanja. But if he finishes this race, he'll jump up quite a few positions here in this race. So always very good to see. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much it's been a decent showing here from Jerome, but it does look like Ponce has kind of started to pull away a bit at Toyota.
Yeah, we're also seeing Santos getting to 3.3 seconds now behind Fukov in P2.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe this is due to Mikhail kind of lifting and coasting, trying to make that zero stop work in his favor. Santos did have the most energy or more energy out of these front runners after when we checked it last. So maybe Santos has decided just to go for a one stop here, going from wet to wet, and then just getting a good splash of fuel to make it to the end of the race. We will have to see. Oh, Leonard's out. Leonard is out of this race, and then there were seven drivers left in this race.
And
now there
we
are
do
no
not have any
Porsches
Porsches on the grid.
Yeah, no Porsches remaining. It is down to 7 drivers. We have lost half of the grid here today in Sebring.
Yeah, but that does seem to be a very big problem with the Porsche drivers. Probably the conditions not suiting the Porsche car. And now we do have some free positions for Perez in the Glickenhaus.
Yeah, now he's actually going to move to P7. Still last on track, but still P7. It's some really good points here for the Dutch driver. The Dutch driver currently sitting in P16 at the moment with 6 points to his name, tied with actually quite a few cars. So the car directly ahead of him is Dan Wilson. He will jump him in the standings. Yeah, actually, and I think if he finishes in this position, he'll actually jump quite a few positions. He'll jump at least himself and he'll jump Dan Wilson and Johnny Luna at minimum. He may jump a few other cars. Standings will be out for the drivers to go ahead and get a grasp on later on, shortly after this race is concluded. I mean, there's only 7 drivers left, so I mean, score should come out pretty easy and pretty quickly. But let's talk about some of the last remaining rookie currently on track of Gabriel Mara. Pretty quiet race from the number 311 Cadillac, and I mean, so far, he's beating the other Cadillac, his more experienced teammate, and he's kept it out of the wall. So I mean, a P5 finish on debut is nothing to really scoff at.
That should be a very good result for him if it's his first race. Being faster than Perron, who is already being our one of the drivers to watch, and this for Mara is a very good position also for the team P5 and P6. As I said, if they can get P4 and P5, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Seems like Ponsen just a little bit faster than both of them, and he's doing a very good job. We can stay on board with him to see if he has any struggling now, since we are getting into that zone where the tires are just getting a little bit worse.
Indeed, yeah, we're going to stay on board now on this front bumper camera of the number 311 Cadillac here as it rips through its home circuit of Sebring, so far the only American track we have on our current calendar. Maybe we will see Coda for next season. I don't know yet. Sure, there may be some announcements about the next track for the following season coming up here in the nearest or nearish future, I should say. We're on board now
Yep.
with the 311 Cadillac. What's one track that you would like to see for next season, Philip?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Probably Kota. Yeah, I drove Kota, and if somebody here likes karting, which I think everybody likes, this is the Kota and hypercars is for the karting drivers. It's bumpy. You can go a lot on the curbs, and you can drive aggressively, which is very fun, especially Sector 1 with the S's. And I was driving it like 2 weeks ago, and it was really fun. Although some people hate the bumps, but you know that's the part of racing, also bumps and curbs and all of this. But for me, the track was amazing to drive, and I wish it was here.
Indeed, yeah. We did put out a survey on our Discord for everyone to see like what tracks we would like to, everybody would like to see for next season, as well as just a few other things about how the season just went, maybe some improvements that could be made for season 2, and also questions about like the multi-class rates, good stuff. But I mean, yeah, Coda is. I nicknamed that track Goda because it is one of the best tracks to ever exist. I mean, to be honest, I like it better than, even though Texas isn't my home state, I do like it better than the tracks that are here in my home state of Florida. Sebring being one of them. Sebring is actually probably, Sebring and Daytona are probably the closest tracks to me currently, like driving wise. I think that one in Daytona because I'm right in the middle of both of those, but still. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what tracks appear next season. I think we may even have an expanded calendar to. I think we might have 8 races next season as opposed to 6, and then also we will have the prologue race like we did at the beginning of this season. So, obviously, I put my vote in for Sebring. I put my vote in for Coda, and also I put my vote in for the outer layer of Bahrain. I even joked with I joked with management about we could possibly get like a exhibition race for the Bahrain 500 around that circuit, just because it is almost an oval. I guess more of like a trapezoid, I guess. But anyways,
yeah.
If you guys in the chat currently, we have 7 viewers currently at the moment, or 6 actually. So first of all, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you drop a like if you haven't already. If you have a track that you would like to see for next season, drop it in the comments section and we'll go ahead and discuss it. Because, I mean, so far, any track is possible now.
Yeah, we do also have Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That'd be a fun one.
Which, for me, it was a little bit easier. Way easier than any other track. It's wide, has wide curves. It has medium speed corners, and it just seemed way flatter than any other track. So it was pretty fun in terms of online racing. And Qatar should be, for me, number 1. If they make it how they make every other track, which they made perfectly well. Qatar is a very high-speed driven track. We are missing only that now for the game.
Indeed, yeah.
It's a very fun track to drive in. I drove it in almost any car in a set of courses, so it's a very fun track to do.
Yeah, actually, I drove also of course via mods. I drove it in the I drove it with the Vanwall, and it was honestly a lot of fun. Also drove it in like the 2026 spec F1 car. Also pretty fun. But I'm going to ask you this question here as we await for some battles to come through. If you could add any track to the WEC calendar and then ultimately into this game, what track would you add?
Ooh, that's a difficult question.
That question is open to chat as well.
Yeah. Probably Nürburgring, like the GP, not Nordschleife. The Nürburgring GP normal track, right? That should be fun.
That'd be pretty fun. I've commentated some Super
Maybe
Formula
even
races around that circuit, and
yeah,
it's been a blast.
maybe even Hockenheim.
I mean, both very solid tracks.
And Silverstone.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I've been saying for a while that Silverstone needs to be part of the WEC calendar. It is the home of British motorsport, and it's honestly it always provides really good racing regardless of what class. I mean, even like watching the Janetta class run around that track is a lot of fun. Even though the Janettas aren't super fast cars, it's kind of like for those of you who may not be familiar, it's kind of like the British equivalent of the MX5 Cup, except they have multiple different Janettas for multiple levels of racing experience. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty neat series. They pretty cool looking cars. Not gonna lie. I do kind of wish that Janetta was still in the LMP1, even though their first outing on it was pretty rough. I guess to answer that question for myself,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, as unrealistic as it is, the Las Vegas GP is a track I'm a massive sucker for. I think that'd be a lot of fun seeing seeing like 60 some cars just run through the Vegas Strip at the same time. I think that'd be really chaotic. I guess in some other tracks.
Are you talking about Las Vegas as a multi-class or just only hypercar?
I'm saying in general, I think like multi-class could be really fun. Hypercar would probably be the best car sport, but multi-class on it would just be absolutely insane.
Yeah, it would be insane, but way dangerous. It's a very dangerous, just like Saudi Arabia. They're doing GT3.
Oh yeah, I
Saudi
saw
Arabia.
that worked out surprisingly well.
That looked fun. That looked fun, yeah.
Yeah.
But just multi-class racing, it's gonna be very difficult in Las Vegas because of the visibility, same as Saudi Arabia. So let's say half of the tracks they don't want because of the safety regulations.
I mean, Vegas was definitely an unrealistic option. Just threw that out there just because we're talking about it.
For fun, yeah.
I mean,
Barcelona. I like the track also, yeah.
Barcelona would be a pretty fun one, yeah.
Yeah.
Jerez would be another good one.
A lot of gravel.
Yeah.
Yep, Jerez. Valencia even.
Oh yeah, Valencia would be a pretty solid one too.
Valencia, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other tracks too that I think could be really fun for
millions, yeah.
I mean, we could have probably easily spent this entire stream talking about just tracks we could love to see in the WC. Yeah. But we're gonna switch back to the on-track action because Mark Santos was actually getting really, really close there to Mikhail Prokop. He was within a second a while ago, but he must have just been a little too late on the brakes. It must have just slipped up a little bit. Take a look at the energy once again to see how much energy is remaining for these drivers. I mean, they're actually in not a bad spot, realistically. 13 minutes left to go in this race. So we have officially completed 75% of the race. And we're getting closer to the end of this. And I think zero stop might be the predominant strategy for everybody.
Yeah, as I'm seeing from Santos, he's using way more of the track, more than Frukov, and he's also pushing just that little bit more. That's why he's getting closer, and I can see he's gaining his confidence back now, as he's seeing race win in front of him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, once again, no matter how often I try to get that positions gained or lost graphic to work, it just doesn't seem to always work, unfortunately. But we'll switch back to the energy remaining. But yeah, this track, the one thing about this track being the way it is, and one of its unique little quirks is there's so much track that you can actually just use. I mean, you can easily just use so much of the track here, and and you can get away with it because track limits are super wide on some sections of this track. Yeah.
One more thing I want to notice is that Perez has 4% more, which if we do get down to the clock of the percentages, he can actually win the race because he will only have the fuel, because the 4% is around half a lap. So that's the only thing he can hope for. That's like in 0.01% chances of him winning. And is that everybody runs out of fuel?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in Belgium too, right? Where even like even if you finish the race, but you just run out of fuel there at the end. We've seen the DNF happen. It actually happened to Johnny Luna in Belgium. He crossed the line, he finished the race, but he ran out of fuel right after that, and the game penalized him, so he had to get dropped down a few positions. He still scored points, but he definitely fell down the order, unfortunately. But I mean, it's still very possible. Very, very possible. And we may see that even here with Mikel, because Mikel is the only driver under 20% of energy remaining. So we'll probably keep an eye on this for the remainder of this race.
And did we calculate how much percent they use one lap?
Not directly, because the one time we were on board with that with Nathan, he had a massive slide. So
all right.
I mean, it's safe to say probably at least 3-ish%. I would beckon.
Yeah. Okay. Because there is 4 to 5 laps remaining. It is gonna be very close.
Speaking of
and now we're
close,
seeing Santos making pressure again.
oh, he was thinking about sending it up the inside, just doesn't quite get it done yet. And this has been the battle of the season, hasn't it? BMW v
Yep.
Toyota. This has basically been all of our big fights here this season, and it has been extraordinary stuff to watch. And we may see it here again. I mean, Santos does have the energy. We're going to go on board now with Santos. That's not the camera we wanted. That's still not the camera we wanted. There we go. That's more like it. He did lose a little bit of time to Mark Santos or to Mikhail Frokov there, but he's got the energy advantage. He's got about 5% extra energy. Sorry, 4% extra energy compared to Frokov. So maybe an extra lap worth of energy, as we see a bit of a snap there from Mark Santos. And this is a battle for the race to win. And this has massive championship implications here. I think that Frokov will still be ahead as we come down to the final 10 minutes of the race here in Sebring. And this really puts a new spin on the word endurance racing here. We're going to go on board to Mikhail Frokov's car now. We're going to switch to the rear view of the rear wing camera. And last time that Mark Santos was in this position, he had a massive slide, which took him way out of contention. But now he is back with a vengeance here, coming into the last few laps of this race. We get close.
As you see, now they're both very, very balanced. No major problems with the car. They're pushing, and I can see Toyota gaining so much more on the braking. Like he gets very, very close, and now maybe, I don't know, just maybe Frukov is still calculating his fuel. Will he make this? There is still at least 4 more laps of racing here.
Yeah, I mean, oh, they're getting really close once again. Within 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths. Oh, is he going to go up the inside? He keeps looking for that inside, but Mikel's got some really excellent defense, and he holds off the Toyota for yet another lap. But this is really burning the energy, as now Santos has a 5% energy advantage over Mikel. So Mikel is under so much pressure here from the Toyota. And Santos knows it. He's going to go in the inside. He's got the lead. But can he make it stick is the question. A little bit of contact there between the Toyota and the BMW. It's going to be close. I think Frokov's got a better exit, though. He's going to try to set it at the inside. This is going to be spicy. He's going to be later on the brakes, but Santos has the inside line. Santos, oh, another bit of contact there between the BMW and the Toyota. We're going to go on board now with the BMW as he chases down Mark Santos. We've got a start recovery drive. Oh, contact and a spin! Contact and a spin!
No.
That's massive contact there. He's going to let him retake it. Good sportsmanship there.
Fair play, yep.
Between the two drivers, but oh, that could have had some serious implications.
Very aggressive from Frukov, not probably needed. He just needs to be more patient. That was a very aggressive move, and Santos was at the right time to turn. And now dependable of how much does Santos have damage on his car? That's the question.
From what I know about how the settings are, the damage is pretty light, so he might not have a whole lot of damage here. But I think once again it's just another case of an incident, kind of putting Mikkel's race way out of whack. He goes way off track there, trying to get as much speed out of the corner as he can. He's gonna line up for a move. He doesn't really have the end or power to really make this stick. He's going to try to send it around the outside. Doesn't have the speed. Santos has the track position, and they're going to go again. But do you think, are we going to see Mikhail Prokop try to send it again? He does look for a move, but he just can't quite go for it. And he's off into the grass. Prokop is off into the grass. He would retake the position momentarily, but he had to give it back. Because you can't overtake off track. And, oh, Mikhail is struggling right now.
He is pushing over the limit of the car, and as he needs to, because he really wants to win this race. Now he needs to put Santos under pressure to make a mistake, and it seems like that exchange in Delta, like it seems like Toyota is fast, then the BMW is fast, then the Toyota is fast, that exchanging the paces throughout the track. So this will be an interesting 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to be interesting graphic to work. We just got to get rid of the other one first. Yeah, so here is, oh, never mind, that gets really cluttered. Take a look at this here. Nope, that still makes it look really cluttered. Apologies there, folks. The UI isn't perfect, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, it's been a battle here between these two, and I think now Prokop is in the position where he's just really got to back off, and he just doesn't have the energy to really fight Santos any further. It's a 5% deficit here, but I mean, these two could probably make it though, because it's really only like 2 more laps roughly before this race is done.
Yeah. One more thing we don't notice is Bonalumi in P3. Now he's in the picture. He was not in the picture when they were on the straight 3 laps ago. And 3 more fights and he's gonna be with them. So as we're seeing Mikkel pushing, and there is 5 more minutes remaining, and he's on 9%. Which I think personally he needs to back off and collect this P2 to make it easier in Fuji.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, if he DNFs here, then I think actually Santos could take the lead. Oh, he's in the wall. Prokop is in the wall, and that opens the door wide open to the Lamborghini of Michel Bonalumi behind, and that's his race done and dusted. Santos will take 2 wins back to back if he can keep it on track.
Yeah, that was just pushing too much for this the late part of the race, and he had a huge lockup. The car just doesn't want to turn, and yeah, he hit the wall. Now it's looking comfortable for Santos, and he's also very good on fuel. Now, if Prokop does not have enough fuel, that means Ponsen can actually get the podium also.
Yeah, and that would definitely make this title battle way more intense. It would put, I mean, I think this, even in this position, I think Prokop still would be in the lead of the championship, but it would be just that much harder going into the final race at Fuji. Just take a look at the points here. Yeah, so he would remain in the lead. Mikkel has 94 points compared to Santos' 77. So roughly around a 13-point gap between the two, roughly, if my math is correct. So it would still be P1 for Prokop in terms of the championship, but I mean, it would go down to the wire, and this battle would be super, super close. But I mean, it still would be massive advantage Prokop, but to get that massive advantage, he would actually have to finish. And somehow, it looks like, we'll actually switch off of this view and look at the gaps in between the cars. Bonalumi actually has lost time to these front runners. So, I mean, it's still a very solid podium position, as Ponset is still like 30 seconds away, almost 40 seconds away from the Lamborghini. But still a really solid result for Bonalumi.
It is an exceptional drive from Bonalumi. here, and he's just praying that they fight for P1. Now Fukov is not out of it, but with the amount of fuel he has, I think he can't push. So it's probably he's gonna stay like this. But Bonalumi is hoping that Fukov does not have the fuel, and he needs to lift and coast.
Indeed, yeah, he's really gonna have to lift and coast to kind of make it to the end of this race. It's gonna be really imperative for his championship, especially now. I mean, with like less than about a minute left, so we're down to like 1 lap, maybe 2 laps, depending on the stage of the track that they're at when the time hits 0. But I mean, I think Mikel really is now just in the mindset of, well, I don't think I can win this race. There's a yellow flag. I'm not sure who that might be. Not Santos.
Bonalumi.
Oh, it is Bonalumi. Yeah, Bonalumi had a little bit of a slide there.
He lost a lot of time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still got such a gap to Ponce that it probably won't affect this race too much unless he has a DNF here at this stage of the race. And it looks like Mikel actually went a bit wide. Yeah, Mikel is very wide. Yeah, so, he's going to try, but I don't know if this is actually going to work.
All right.
This is definitely going to be a last second battle. They are touching. They are hugging each other now. They said screw social distancing. He's going to put it all on the line. He's got the inside. He's got the lead of this race, but I just don't know if that's legal.
Yeah. No, it's not legal. He needs to give back the position.
Yeah, I mean...
He gained around a second there. And not also as the second, he also gained an exit speed.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the stewards kind of view that one, as this will be the last lap of the race. Prokop did overtake, or he gained a lot of time off track and shot back into the lead. So I just don't think that this race win will stick. If it does, I mean, and he goes off track again. He is trying desperately, tooth and nail, to win this race. He is fighting with every fiber of his being to try to get this race win. But I just don't think it's enough. It's the final lap of this race. And this is going to be really dicey coming here to the last a little bit. Yeah, I just think, I mean, I don't know. This would be a really, really interesting one for the stewards to kind of handle. He's got the run around the outside. He's going to try to make it stick around the outside. More contact between the two. Mikel is desperate at the stage. And Santos goes deep. He goes deep off track. Oh, I wonder that's going to be a penalty there between for Mikel there.
Yeah, I mean it should be a penalty, to be honest. Maybe even 2 penalties now. The first one we saw, it's an advantage all the way, on exit, on the corner, on time, more top speed. Now I thought it looks like he pushed him off the track, like bumped him.
Yeah, I mean, he just went way off track himself there. I think both cars did. Yeah. Oh, he's on the grass!
There is a lot of...
Oh, they're both on the grass.
Limits. Yeah, but for me this is a bit... not very clean racing at all. But the stewards will decide what they think is appropriate. But in my opinion, after a lot of years watching motorsports, this is very, very illegal to do. But
yeah, well,
last lap or...
Yeah, this is the last lap, and I believe that is the checkered flag for these drivers. Mikel Prokop will win on track. He'll win on track, but I just don't know if that's going to stick. So on track at the moment, our finishers are Mikel Prokop, Mark Santos, Michel Bonalumi, Antoine Poncet. As we see a Toe Mater style finish there for Michel Bonalumi. Antoine Poncet will come home in P4. Gabriel Marr will be P5 on debut for the Cadillac for the Canadian driver. Nathan Perron will go ahead and take P6. And Nico Perez will take P7 as the final finisher of this race. And yes, as Arianault, I hope I pronounced that right, sent chat, that was a very scandalous finish here in Sebring. I'm sure there's going to be some incident reports about that. I am not a steward. I am a commentator, so me and Philip will commentate what's currently on track. But yeah, that'll be that'll be pretty interesting to see. I think that's probably going to delay the scoring quite a bit as well. Because we don't know where how that's going to fare as we see a little bit of a drift there and a bit of contact there from Perez, but I think his race is already over. He already crossed the line, so yeah, that is it.
Yep, as I'm watching the replay of the race now, the overtake with Frukov, and he cut a whole corner. He slowed down, yes, but he did gain a straight line, and he didn't even make the penultimate corner, so which made him have more top speed. And now I'm gonna go into the second incident. And let's see, they bumped a bit, which made Santos slide. So probably the contact made Santos lose on braking, so which is a on offense on Santos, which means for me a penalty for Foucault. That is.
Yeah, we'll see what the stewards say about it as we see a little bit of extra drifting there from Nathan Perron. And yeah, that's it. That's our race done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that was a very hectic end to that race. Yeah, I think in general, that was a fun race. Got very spicy there towards the end. Lots of DNFs. We had seven total DNFs. But we will go ahead and I guess we jump straight to the interviews now. I guess we'll still get our top 3 for interviews if you would like to go ahead and ping them, and then we'll jump over to we'll jump into general and see if we can get these interviews underway. So it'll be Bonalumi, Brokov, and Santos.
And Santos, yeah. Let me see if I can find all of them. I can find Santos.
Right. We'll go and switch to our interview screen. I know this just still shows Mandarin from round 4. Unfortunately, we didn't have the updated thumbnail ready for this race.
No.
But I mean, still Le Mans Ultimate. So yeah, we'll just have to go ahead and see if we can get some interviews up and running.
All right.
We'll see if any of them pop into.
We're just missing Santos, I think.
Yep. I'll go ahead and ping him as well.
Oh, Safi, I forgot the name.
It's all good. It took me a while to learn the names. Pretty sure I was doing the first round of scoring. The Discord names and the contract names are usually quite a bit different. We'll see if we can get some interviews going. I guess they're in race chat now. If you would like to pop over.
Yeah. Yep.
Hello.
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 All right, so we have all of our interviewees. I will let Philip go in and take the first one away with P3. Mr. Bonalumi.
Yep. Mr. Bonalumi, congratulations on your podium.
Thank you.
You have driven amazingly. You seem to be in the control of the car very nicely in the wets. Is there amount of time you can tell us how much did you practice?
I actually didn't practice at all in the rain. I think I made a good qualifying, but at the start of the race I pretty messed it up a little bit. I spun and I was back on the field, probably P12 if I remember correctly, and then I drive safely and yeah, I managed to reach P3, but I've never taken any more risk, and yeah, drove safe. Yeah. I think after 10-15 minutes my race was pretty stable, and at the end was pretty boring because I was in the nowhere zone, you know.
Yeah, if you would say alone, yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and one more question. It seemed like you were mostly under control of your car. If you can say if that was setup related or your driving style just adapted to the rain?
No, I simply use the dry setup because I don't have any weather stuff. I just adjust a little bit the traction control and the TC slip and everything, and then just see where to brake, and that's it. After 2 or 3 laps, thanks God the rain was still present and it was not heavier during the race.
Yeah.
So it was just driving, and every lap I make more confidence, every lap, every corner, and that's it.
Yeah, and one more question. It's about your thoughts about the other drivers and the community you just joined.
I think it's awesome. I think we can have a pretty fun race, all packed together. Of course, it depends every race, every track. In this case, of course, with the rain, I know it's really not easy here with this condition. Sebring, it's always really difficult, even in the dry conditions. So, but yeah, in general, it's really a fun championship, I must say. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you just a few quick questions here, Michelle. Did I get the name pronunciation right?
It's you can call me Mitch. Yeah, Michelle is more female, but every not Italian, I'm used to it, so no problem at all.
All right, so I'll just try to come best to call you Mitch from now on. So, a very good race here today. How are you feeling about Fuji in about 1 or 2 weeks' time?
Sadly, I cannot race in Fuji because I have other things to do. But it's really another tricky track, you know. I think it's really difficult to manage the tires, especially with long corners. So that's gonna be good. I hope I can at least watch it. Sadly, I can't race there. So for me, this championship is over here, but with a P3. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, podium's a really good way to kind of wrap up the championship. I mean, you went out on a high note. I know your season has been pretty up and down. Didn't have the best of luck until Monza. Monza, you had a really solid performance, but overall, I mean, you've had a pretty decent championship. Are you looking forward to the potential inclusion of multi-class racing starting next season?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think if there is a chance to drive the GT3, I probably will choose GT3 100%. So I hope we can have a multi-class race in the next season. Yeah.
I think multi-class racing has been a pretty popular topic for us, and it's definitely something we already kind of considered from the outset. So I know there's a survey that went out a few days ago, created by our very own Nico Perez. What's the one track you would like to see for next season, especially with all the new layouts that were just added?
Well, I'm Italian, so I must say Imola, sorry. But Imola, it's with DLC, so I don't know. If a lot of people have the DLC, like everyone, we can race there. Otherwise, we can have Interlagos is another one. For example, it's really cool track. It's pretty wide, I must say, Interlagos. So you can have a really good multi-class race there. But we need to see with the decision and how many people we are, and yeah. But Imola in Interlagos 100%.
Yeah, I know Interlagos is also DLC. That would actually have to be a DLC I'd have to pick.
It's all DLC, and I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a DLC I'd have to pick up as well. It's that one in the newest DLC pack I haven't picked up yet. But anyways, congratulations on P3. It's a shame that we won't see you for the next race, the final race of the season. But best of luck to you in your future races, and hopefully we'll see you next season.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right, so now we're going to go to Mark Santos. Are you here?
Hello.
There he is. All right, Philip, if you want to start the questions, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Mark. Can you just tell me, it seemed like you were struggling in the open laps. Was it a tire issue or just not feeling comfortable in the rain at the start?
I would say not comfortable, but I got hit by a bug. So my setup resetted during the session change. Okay. So I had to change some stuff on the first lap around, and so I was not really concentrating on driving, which... Yeah.
Okay, From our point of view, it looked like something happened to you with your pace, and then probably, of course, it's colder conditions and the rain. How much did you work on the setup, if you did had any at all?
Yeah, well, the setup I used during qualifying, which I could have used for the race as well, but the game didn't let me. It was a dry setup initially, and then I changed a lot of stuff around, which made the car turn more, but it made it also very sketchy. So one mistake and you were off. So yeah, but that's the Toyota in that case anyway. So
yeah. That's why I questioned your question, because we saw a lot of your problems were basically snappiness and probably brakes at some point. So that's why I was asking, did you had the setup or did you just do anything to become a bit faster?
Yeah, well, for the race I didn't have the setup anymore because the game just defaulted when I went onto the grid. But I changed the main stuff around, like the ARBs.
Yep.
Put them softer. The front I even detached. Then the brake bias I had all the way down. Luckily, the normal wing on the Toyota's pretty high, so it worked out in that sense. And after, like, I would say 10 laps, I kind of felt confident enough. But yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
All right, so I'll go ahead and ask you just some of the same questions I asked Mitch. So in terms of the next race in Fuji, how confident are you feeling about Fuji either next week or 2 weeks from now? I think we're still waiting on official confirmation if there's a 1 week break or not.
I'm pretty confident that I need to put on the hard tire on the front left. But yeah, Fuji is one of my weaker tracks, I would say. But nevertheless, I said this to Mikkel before. If the championship is decided, which it is, I will do a last to first challenge. So yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah. So mathematically, I'd have to do the standings. Probably at some point today. But I mean, mathematically, you're still available to do the championship. You would have had the DNF for you to no longer be championship viable. So you still have a chance here at the championship coming into Fuji. But if you do a last to first challenge, it'll be very interesting to watch. It'll be a really fun story to cover. So I'm gonna ask also the same question. How do you feel about multi-class racing possibly coming in for next season?
Oh, I'm very excited. This is my favorite kind of racing because it's just for the first few laps on the most tracks, it's pretty normal stuff, and then when the traffic hits, it's chaos time, so it's very fun to do. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope we get a lot of GT3 drivers.
Are you going to be one of the drivers pivoting to GT3, or even if we get LMP2, or are you going to stick to hypercars?
I'm going to stick to hypercars. I'm going to change the hypercar though, but it's not decided yet which one.
All right. And then I'll ask you another question again. I mean, I know there's a survey that was put out, but what's one track you want to see for next season?
Sebring. It's my favorite track in the game, so of course I would say Sebring.
All right. I mean, I have a little bit of bias towards Sebring because it's my home track because I live like about an hour away from it. But yeah, still, congrats on P2 and best of luck next week.
Thank you.
All right. Last but certainly not least, Mikhail Frokov, another win. It may be under investigation, but still another win. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm happy with it, and I'm pretty sure I should be leading the Drivers' Championship with 35 points, so I think it's mathematically secured too. So, yeah. So
yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, the standings will have to be calculated later on today. So we'll make an announcement if it is mathematically secure. So we'll go and see how everything plays out. But towards the very end there, you were definitely struggling a bit. Was it fuel? Was it tires? All the above? Just walk us through what happened in the closing stages of that race.
Well, the rain was coming down heavier, so yeah, conditions got worse. So yeah, the track got like 1.5 seconds slower. So yeah, that's probably what made me struggle a bit and needed to adapt for the new conditions. And then also, of course, I had the pressure from behind. So yeah.
All right, so I'll just rapid fire these next 3 questions. How are you feeling about Fuji next week or the week after?
I like Fuji. Yeah, I think I got quite good pace on it, and I know strategy and stuff. At least the tire strategy. Not sure about fuel strategy yet, but yeah, I like the track. So hopefully I can get another win.
Yeah, you might even have a few extra. You might have a few extra days, depending on if we do take a 1-week break for the IRL 12 hours of Sebring. That's still waiting to be announced, as far as I know. But you might have an extra week to practice that. So that should be a fun race. If we do go to the multi-class racing format, are you gonna stick in hypercar or are you gonna transition to one of the other classes?
I'm most likely gonna. Pretty sure I'm gonna stick to hypercars. I like faster. Of course, I want to be in the front, but yeah, it's of course class dependent too. But yeah, I like high downforce cars mostly. So and hypercars are the ones with most downforce. So yeah.
All right, and the last question from me before I pass you over to Philip. What is one track that you would like to see for next season?
Probably Le Mans without the chicanes now. I think I love the track, and I think it could be very fun with the long straight without the 2 chicanes. So
That is a very good track option. All right, that's all for me. I will pass you over to Philip if he's got any questions.
Yep, I just have one question for the Fuji race, since it's the last race of the season, and we saw a lot of potential from other drivers today. They showed they can race in any condition. They are also fast. Who would be your number 1 opponent for Fuji?
I think normally I would probably say Mike Santos, but he's starting from last, so I don't think he's.
I mean, you can join me.
Yeah, true. True. I'm gonna think about that, but I might do. But otherwise, I would say Machete probably, if he's racing. He's probably the next fastest
What did
guy.
you think about Mitch today in the Lamborghini? He seems to be probably most of the time the fastest driver today.
Yeah, I felt like yeah, of course I looked at his times a few times, but yeah, he was definitely fast, and it seems like yeah, he struggled a bit at first, lost a lot of time, and then yeah, he was fast. Of course he came back with on the last laps when me and Mark started fighting very heavily, spicy.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right, and that is it here for interviews, and that is the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned till next time. I think even later on today we have our F1 group going at it. I think Group 3 is going at it today. But yeah, we do definitely have F1 today and tomorrow. So make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. And then coming soon, we will have our final race of the first season of Le Mans Ultimate at Fuji. So you guys definitely don't want to miss it. My name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and alongside me was Philip. And Philip, do you have any closing comments?
Yeah, it was a fun race to watch. Can't wait for Fuji to close up this amazing season.
All right. Oh, thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next